Yeah, yeah,
What is good? This is the Dynasty Gambit. I am your host, Jay. As always, you can find me at FantasyJ77 over there on Twitter. I am joined by my faithful co-host, Steven, at Target Shares over there on Twitter. If you haven't seen the reports yet, we lost a legend today. A legend from the Bears. Dick Butkus has passed. He passed in his sleep. By his wife's report, he passed in his sleep peacefully. So thoughts and prayers to the Butkus family from both of us, from the Going for Two family. That being said, Steven, how was your week this week when it comes to fantasy?
Took my first loss in my home league that I usually reference. So 3-1 there. Olave didn't do much for me. Really just didn't. I'm curious what you think. It just didn't seem like Derek Carr should have been out there. When Kamara gets 13 receptions for like 30 yards, you can just tell he's not able to do what he's supposed to be doing out there. And then Pollard got rested for the whole fourth quarter, so lost by like 1 point.
Oh, yeah. Those are the horrible ones to lose when you lose by like one because they rested a player.
And then Herbert taking kneeling at the end of the game, losing rushing yards. I think that literally is the reason I lost because I lost a few rushing yards from Herbert at the end of the game. It was just brutal.
But Olave caught one pass last week, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken. Was it one pass on like 3 targets? He didn't get targeted very often at all.
He got one deep target in the end zone that like was pretty close to getting a touchdown, which obviously would have been plenty for me to win, but didn't get it, didn't reel it in. So yeah, one catch on 4 targets.
Yeah, so right before the news broke last year with this whole Kamara thing, like literally like 24 to 48 hours before that, I traded Kamara off of one of my teams. I got a boatload of crap for him. So
wow.
I did not feel bad for the guy when 2 days later he gets suspended, right? So this person immediately after that game the other night text me, F you and Kamara's 13 targets. I'm just laughing because we're playing in a full PPR league, right? So you're getting 13 targets, automatic 13 points, and he is not happy at all.
It's like impressive to have 13 receptions and it was what, like 20 fantasy points, something like that. Like, how do you even do that?
Yeah, it was and with no touchdown, by the way.
Yeah, no touchdown, no like limited rushing yards, limited receiving yards on that many targets.
I know you can't see it, but there is a Super Bowl ring right here on this screen, right, for the Bucs. Maybe by the time the sun goes down on my end, you'll be able to see that Super Bowl ring. But that's the reason that Kamara couldn't get a touchdown is because that Tampa Bay defense was just outstanding.
Yeah, absolutely. And credit to Baker too. I mean, honestly, playing much better than I think most people expected, me absolutely included.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at this one stat from my article this week. He's second in the league in EPA per play when facing pressure. He's behind only Josh Allen. That surprised me. And that's obviously a limited, relatively limited sample because it's just a couple weeks and you're not pressured in every dropback. But still, I mean, that's impressive. I think it's Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, and then Mahomes. I mean, that's impressive.
That's pretty good company, no matter who you are, to be included.
Pretty impressive. I mean, really, those are the only 3 quarterbacks that have positive EPA versus pressure.
I think as an industry, we were all down on the Bucs offense this year, or at least the Bucs passing game.
Yeah.
We were down on Mike Evans. We were okay or mediocre on Chris Godwin because of that's kind of Chris Godwin's routes ran into where Baker Mayfield thrives. But Mike Evans, for instance, has absolutely been a non-sit every week.
I think for me, the main question that I had was, I mean, the Buccaneers with Brady were just such a pass-heavy team.
Mm-hmm.
And so that obviously helps Godwin a ton, Godwin specifically, when you're passing that often and just the role that he plays. My thought was, okay, that's not going to be anywhere close to that with Baker this season. They're going to run the ball a lot more. They're going to have just fewer plays in the offense. And I don't know, just been a surprise for me. I think for most, he's been pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, he's somebody that you definitely have to take a look at, because if he's out there on your waiver wire, even right now, I mean, they're on the bye this week, but That they only get the one bye.
Yeah.
Right. So if you've only drafted one quarterback, in your redraft leagues, or if you're sitting there and wondering who can be a super flex quarterback for you, that's a pretty good option right there.
No, he's not a bad second quarterback, which is, I think, again, unexpected.
Yeah, very unexpected. Very unexpected. All right, week 5 is upon us. We do have a game tonight.
Mm-hmm.
It is the Chicago Bears heading to the Washington Commanders. Commanders are favored by 6, over under a 45. The Bears have lost 14 straight. And the Commanders are coming off a brutal overtime loss to the Eagles, which they were there.
Yeah.
And Sam Howell played a hell of a game.
He did.
Bears are trying to get into the win column. Commanders are trying to stay, at least within shouting distance, of the NFC East. Here's a funny one, though. In both of these defenses give up 30 plus points per game.
Yeah.
But even worse than that, the Bears gave up 6+ yards per play. Not per game, per play. Lots of offense tonight? Or is this a replay of week 6 last year where these two teams were in a barn burner 12-7 where the Commanders won?
It's really interesting. So it's two really slow offenses. The Bears are slow and run heavy. The Commanders are slow and pass heavy. But they're just, the pace is ridiculous. And then two, like you mentioned, all those great stats, two terrible defenses. So you have these two really slow offenses against two really bad defenses. I guess I don't have a perfect read on which way this goes. The only thing I'm really confident in that I'll talk about in the news and notes is that there's going to be sacks. Other than that, I don't know. I'm curious what you think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm expecting like 74-71. Something. No, I'm expecting, seriously, I'm expecting like 24-20 Washington. That's honestly where I'm thinking this game is going to go.
Like slightly under with a Washington win.
Yeah, slightly under Washington wins. If Brian was here, he would say it's definitely going to be under.
I think Brian would go with the under for sure.
Yeah, I think Brian would go the under as well. Well, you brought it up. Go ahead and talk about your news and notes, and we will bring up the extra screen right here for the viewer to check this out. And if you are not catching us live on YouTube, come over and check us out live. Steven does this every week where he will bring up a graphic showing the tonight's is the pressure to sack rate. He's done the quarterbacks, he's done the running backs. So please check us out over on YouTube so you can actually see the graphic that Steven is talking about when we bring these up. But Steven, I'll let you go ahead and talk about this graphic here, which is really interesting how you've done this tonight.
Yeah, so the graph, the x-axis there, it's pressure to sack rate. So you can think of that as how often a quarterback takes a sack when they get pressured. So you want to be lower, basically. You want to be Patrick Mahomes all the way to the left. The y-axis is passing touchdowns per attempt. Basically, for how many attempts the quarterback has, how often are they getting a touchdown? So ideally, you're in the top left. And there's Baker again in the top left. Again, talking about how impressive he's been right next to Tua and Mahomes on the graph. But where I think the two quarterbacks tonight really match for me in my mind is in this graph. Both take a ton of sacks. Mm-hmm. Sam Howell is all the way in the bottom right there. That's where you don't want to be. Justin Fields is basically the only quarterback in the top right. I say this because this was another stat that I wrote in the article this week. About 28% of drives without a sack this year have ended in a touchdown. That's about 15% when the quarterback takes a sack on a drive. So you're almost twice as likely as an offense to score a touchdown if your QB doesn't take a sack on a drive. It's massive. So I think it's under-discussed how brilliant Mahomes is, just as an aside, and avoiding sacks when he gets pressured. But so that's the thing that I think we're going to see tonight. Both of these quarterbacks, when they get pressured, they take a lot of sacks. And that's pretty much the most confident thing I am in this game is that they're going to take a ton of sacks tonight.
So looking at this graph, you want to be normally the graphs that we pull up, you want to be up in the top right. This one here, we want to be up in the top left, right?
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
You want the pressure to sack rate to be low.
And we don't want to be in the complete opposite in the bottom right.
Yep.
But if you are in the how do you see this as 1, 2, 3, 4 quadrants? Is it? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think so. I think the reason you don't see a lot of quarterbacks in the top right, it's basically just Justin Fields and everyone else is sort of next to the average lines, is because of that stat I said. It's really hard for an offense to have high touchdown efficiency when their quarterback is taking a ton of sacks. It really caps the top end efficiency of an offense when that's happening. And so you basically just don't have anyone in the top right. It's tough to take a ton of sacks and get touchdowns. You have quarterbacks in the other 3 quadrants. You ideally would be in the top left. Second would be bottom left. Worst would be bottom right.
Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah,
is the way you want to look at it. Now, when you're looking at these, how much do you look at the offensive line? Because, and the reason I ask this question is the offensive line in Houston is not very good right now. They're just now getting back some players. And when you look at where CJ Stroud is, he's up in that top left. Is that because he's mobile?
I think it's interesting because Mahomes isn't really thought of as like the most mobile quarterback, but he is just absolutely amazing at avoiding sacks. And this is one of the stickiest stats that there are, really. Like, you can see this in college and it translates to the NFL too. And then year over year, these stats don't change that much. So I don't think yes, having a great offensive line would help a lot, but this, I think, is a quarterback stat. It really holds through college, through the NFL. Both Howe and Fields. Howe was 7th in his, 7th worst, basically, in his last season in college in this stat for all qualified quarterbacks in college. Fields was in the bottom 20%. This is something that they suffered through in college. Fields has actually been a little bit better this year in the NFL, but he's still above average in pressure to sack rate. Howe is first, and by first I mean worst in pressure to sack rate. It's stuff that you saw in college. It carries over in the NFL and it sticks year over year. And then and some of these quarterbacks are just really good at avoiding, like Mahomes is.
All right, so we see Justin Fields in the 3rd worst position for quarterbacks. We see Sam Howell in the 4th worst position for quarterbacks per this chart. You have the choice. You're starting Justin Fields or Sam Howell, and you have to start one. Who are you starting tonight?
Which Fields do I get? Do I get the Fields from last week, or do I get the Fields from the previous weeks? Sam Howell's been better. If you look at it, in my opinion, over like the 4-week sample that we've had this season, overall, Sam Howell's been better. I know that stat it stinks for him, but it's not the only stat that matters. He's been pretty good in EPA per play, and that's even more impressive because sacks really ding your EPA value, and so he's overcoming that by looking pretty good in other aspects. So I think I start Howell if I had to pick one, but as someone with the Fields, DJ Moore stack and Scott Fishbowl, I'm kind of hoping that we get actual Justin Fields from last week more often. But yeah.
Well, I mean, the first half wasn't great, but the second half was pretty damn good for Fields last week. So
and it's what he did last season too. He started off really slow and then came on. I mean, I don't really get it. But I mean,
they allowed him to use his weapons. And by his weapons, I mean the two things that are dangling from his hips.
Yeah.
Those feet, those legs.
Get him outside the pocket more.
Yeah.
Let him run, when he can.
Real quick, going over the injuries for tonight. Defensively for the Bears, Jawan Brisker looks like he was limited in practice. Not sure if he's going to play. And then Jalen Johnson with a hamstring, both of them with hamstrings, rather. He did not participate in practice. Those are the only two big ones. Chase Claypool is non-injury related. Team decision, sounding like he's not much longer for Chicago. I mean, I don't know what the deal is there. Lots of issues off the field. We'll talk about that here in a short little bit. For the Commanders, when it comes down to their injuries, Jahan Johnson was a full participant. Looks like he's a good to go. Curtis Samuel, limited. No injury designation right now. He's not even listed as questionable. He should be good to go as well. Chris Rodriguez is the only one that was limited and is listed as questionable offensively. They've got two cornerbacks on here, Christian Holmes, Jadavius Martin. Both of them were full participants in practice. So looks like it's going to be a very light injury report for tonight. Even though I said a lot of words right there, very, very, very little injury for tonight. So, Steve, I want to ask you, who is one player that you're looking forward to watching tonight, performance-wise?
I think I'm really interested to see Cole Kmet. It's not a player that I've really liked for the Bears, but he has had 6+ targets in 3 of his 4 games this season. And then he had a 2-touchdown game last week. I just don't think he's that great as a receiving tight end. I really like the ESPN analytics receiver score stuff. And last year he got a 37 out of 100. It's not really a great score, pretty below average, with 50 as an average mark. And then he gets a Washington team that gives up the fewest fantasy points per game to tight ends. So it's a bad matchup. I don't think he's really that talented, but it's, who else are they throwing to? You have DJ Moore, and then I still would bet that Kmet turns back into a pumpkin tonight, but he had a pretty good game last week. So
yeah, that's also my bet is Cinderella does come calling, but she comes calling about 8:15 tonight instead of midnight.
Exactly.
And Cole Kmet turns, like you said, back into a pumpkin. The one player that I'm looking forward to watching tonight, and we just talked about him, but it is Sam Howell. I want to see if what they did in that second half against Philly, against your Eagles.
Yeah,
they looked really, really good. Him and Terry McLaurin had a connection. I want to see if he can build on that.
Yeah,
right.
McLaurin looked great too. He's got some ridiculous receptions over expected from next gen stats. It's like plus 17% or something crazy. He's looked really good.
Yeah, and then of course, then the other one is going to be what's going on, Jamie. I see you over there. I appreciate you jumping in tonight, joining me and Steve. How we doing, Jamie? The other one I'm looking forward to seeing tonight is on the Bears side of the ball, Khalil Herbert.
Yeah,
can he continue to dominate that backfield? Like we've seen Roschon Johnson just steadily get decreased. And when the Bears are up big, then they'll throw him in there more. But, for the most part, it looks like it's becoming Khalil Herbert's backfield. So that's something else I'm looking forward to tonight. Jamie says they do all really good pass catching running backs. They do have really good pass catching running backs with the Bears. Khalil Herbert is a really good pass. And if you have PPR, you're starting him tonight. Because I do expect Khalil Herbert to get 5 or 6 targets, 4 catches tonight.
Wow.
And the reason I say that is because that Washington front 4 is going to put pressure on them.
Yeah.
And he's going to have to be able to get the ball out quickly.
Yeah.
Now, is that Mooney's job, or is that going to be Khalil Herbert in a flat or quickly?
Can Mooney separate enough to be open in that quick of a need from Fields there? I don't know.
Can Mooney become the new slant boy?
Yeah, I don't know.
He better do it quickly.
I don't think it's Kmet, like I just said. So I'm hoping Mooney steps up and can be that quality number 2 target for Fields. I don't think we've really seen that.
Steve, I don't know if you know this about Jamie
I do.
yet.
Yeah, okay. I do. I know he's a big Roschon guy.
He's huge Roschon fan. Like on one of my other podcasts that I do, Jamie, I will give Jamie credit because he is such a Roschon fan that Tyler Heil, him and Tyler had a little conversation, and I don't remember what the whole deal was, but Jamie basically bought and sent Tyler Heil a Roschon jersey. And on the show, it's hanging in the background. So props to you, Jamie, for standing your ground, even though it's starting to look more like a soft sand, very quickly becoming sand. very quickly becoming
I
safe.
think Khalil Herbert's good too. I mean, it's questionable how much you like the rushing yards over expected stuff from Next Gen Stats. I like it. He was number 1 in the league per carry last season, and I think he's been a little bit worse this year, but still pretty good. I would imagine after last week. I haven't checked, but I think he's
Oh, he corrected me. It was not a Roshan jersey. It was a Jerome Ford jersey. Yeah.
Got it.
So appreciate the correction there, Jamie. And I apologize for being completely wrong there. I forget. He sent him a Jerome Ford jersey because Tyler is a Cleveland fan as well. So I get it. But Jamie's a Cleveland fan too. I don't know why he is all over the Roshan deal, but he is. All right, let's talk stock up, stock down for week 5. Give me your stock up player this week.
I think so I have this player in my home league. I think it's Marquise Brown for me. I say that because I keep not wanting to play him because I keep thinking in my head that the Cardinals are just terrible. You can't start any Cardinals. They're absolutely awful. And they just haven't been. I think they've been a huge surprise. I mean, they're top third of the league in passing EPA per play. That's way better than I expected coming into the season with Josh Dobbs at quarterback. So Brown just keeps putting up 17 points per game in PPR leagues. I mean, I think he's like absolutely a flex starter, maybe even more. I wonder, have you already been on that train? Am I just behind everyone else? Or I just feel like I see the Arizona Cardinal listed next to his name. Like, I don't want to play him.
No, I mean, I was definitely on that train up until about week 2.5, week 3. Josh Dobbs had a just all over himself on week 1. But then you look at week 2, week 3, week 4, and it's just going, you can see the train going up. Because ironically, my stock up this week is also an Arizona player and also an Arizona wide receiver.
Is it?
It is Michael Wilson.
Yeah,
it is. Absolutely. When you look at what his target share is, week 1 was 90%. I'm sorry, not his snap share. Week 1 was 90%. Week 2, 43. Week 3, 67. Week 4, 70. What he did last week against, San Francisco and that dominant defense that San Francisco has, throwing up 2 TDs as well, but 7 of 7. I don't care the yards at that point. You're 7 of 7.
Another great point. They're going against really good defenses too, and they're looking pretty good. I just don't. Huge surprise for me. Yeah.
Well, and there's the problem is we're sitting here and you're talking about Hollywood Brown. I'm talking about Michael Wilson. Josh Dobbs is sitting there and producing.
Yeah.
And he's only 27% rostered.
He's viable as a streamer, especially as we start getting to buys. Like he's absolutely a QB streamer in 1 QB leagues.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Is now that we're getting into buys, I expect that 27% to go up to like that 40, 45% range area because he is definitely a viable streamer. Even if it's for a week or two, to cover for bye weeks. Because again, he doesn't turn the ball over.
And you get the rushing with him too. More than a lot of other guys that are in that range. You actually get some rushing upside with him.
Yeah, when I look at it, 2 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions out of Josh Downs.
Yeah. That'll work.
Yes. We got starting quarterbacks that were top 5 picks or, top 10 picks overall that have turned the ball over more times than Josh Downs has thrown the ball. Yeah. It seems. I mean, it's not been the best for the fantasy quarterbacks. Stock down. Who you got?
This was tougher for me this week. I think the obvious one that I thought of was Zach Moss. He's been better than I expected. I pretty much didn't want any part of this Colts backfield, and he's been completely viable as a fantasy running back. Not necessarily last week as much, but the 2 weeks before that, I think he scored 20 plus PPR points each week. That's, really, really, really impressive. But I think his value goes basically down to 0 if Jonathan Taylor is going to play. Big question mark, obviously, is Jonathan Taylor going to play as a Colt this week? It seems like it's trending in that direction. He's practicing, and I don't know. I guess I'm just waiting until I see it. But big stock. You pretty much won't be able to get anything for Zach Moss if Jonathan Taylor plays a snap as a Colt this week.
Well, as Shane Steichen said, I mean, he's happy to be with his team.
Yeah. I think I'm just waiting for some kind of like resolution between him and Jim Irsay, like any kind of comment from a reporter that says, yeah, they talked and now it's okay.
Let me ask you this, because if he is with no injury designation come Sunday morning, are you comfortable starting JT, putting him in your lineup?
I'm putting him in. If they tell me he's going to play, then I'm going to play him. I think one thing that I thought about this week, and I wrote it in my article for Going for Two, is that we actually had some really great questions from this offseason answered for Kupp and for JT, these guys coming back, where their offenses are at least functional, if not pretty good. For the Rams are like a top 10 EPA per play team. The Colts are 18th, I think. That's completely viable and better, especially for the Colts, especially for Richardson. He's been playing better than I expected, and I think a lot of people expected.
But here's my question, though. I mean, yes, if it's a normal year and it's week 4, week 5 rather, he's played the first 4 weeks. He's an absolute plug and play, move on, no matter who he's playing. But this will be week 1 for him, and he's playing Tennessee.
I still can. So can you name 24 other running backs? Let's say you're in a league that has to start 2 running backs. Can you name?
I can't name 20. I can't name 24 running backs that are still healthy right now.
Exactly. That's the thing. It's like, I think, what are your options? I'm absolutely playing them.
If you're sitting there and you have, let's say, let's throw this out there. Let's say you have Barkley, who is also coming back, but has already played this year. Let's say you have Barkley, and who else would be a good one? Like Raheem Mostert, or a Travis Etienne, or either one of the guys going tonight, Brian Robinson or Khalil Herbert. Let's say those are that's your stable, right? Are you comfortable saying, yes, I'm going to start JT over X player week 1 for him, for JT going up against Tennessee, when you've got Khalil Herbert going against Washington, you've got, Herbert going against the Commanders, you've got who else did I say there? Mostert going against the Giants, or a chain going against the Giants. I mean, you tell me. Those are some viable questions I know people are gonna have the answer to.
I would start Saquon I'm only starting 2 running backs, and I have Saquon and I have Achane. I would start both of them over JT this week. Okay. I think Achane, you just have to keep playing. I know that it's his efficiency can't be that good every week just because it's been unbelievable. You can't get 10 carries and score that many points every week. I assume maybe he can. Maybe he's just like, the best running back of all time. But you just have to keep playing him. But over those other guys, it's tougher with the Thursday night stuff. But I would start Jonathan Taylor over Brian Robinson. I would start him over Khalil Herbert. I have been patient. If I'm a Jonathan Taylor manager, I think if I am reasonably optimistic that he's going to play this week, I'm going to play him in most situations.
I mean, if he's going to play, I've got to start him.
Yeah. That's where I am with Kupp too. If Kupp's going to play this week, I know that there's, he's been pushing to play against the Eagles. They're kind of been non-committal if he's going to play or if he's not going to play. And if he does, will he be limited? But if he plays, I'm playing him. If Cooper Kupp's out there, he's going to be in my lineup.
Yeah. Okay. Let me ask you this way. Would you throw him in a DFS lineup?
Depends on the cost, I guess. If he's like full baked, typical Jonathan Taylor Cooper Kupp cost, no, because I'm not paying that much. But if I get some kind of reasonable discount, then I would think about it.
I think that's fair. I haven't looked at all the cost for them this year or for this week. I do know that there's some surprisingly low cost on a quarterback out there. It's a starting quarterback, like 4,000, maybe 4,300 for a Zach Wilson, going up against that Denver offense.
Oh God! I mean, you can't. I don't.
I mean, you could theoretically go get Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
And then just load up on studs everywhere else
and just kind of like
and just
hope.
kind of cross your fingers that he doesn't turn into, 2020 or 2021 Zach Wilson.
That Broncos defense is so bad,
Right.
too. It's so bad. But
And if you want to hedge that bet, I mean, seriously, you could probably do like Zach Wilson and then make your captain or whatever Brees Hall
yeah, or I mean, if you're going to bet on Zach
or
Wilson,
the Jets D.
try to get Garrett Wilson in there
Garrett
too,
Wilson in there as
and
well.
just
Yeah.
assume
And you
that
could you could just smash that. Oh, just make that a showdown lineup for that one game.
it'd be fun. I think I'm holding my nose if I'm putting Zach Wilson into
Oh,
anything that I'm putting money in.
Absolutely doing that. Absolutely doing that.
But I get it. If he's cheap, and the defense is the Broncos defense.
Well, they're good in the second half. Well, they were good the second half of last week.
Yeah,
but that was against the Bears
because Russ has looked better. I mean, they've been completely functional in top third of the league and on offense. They've been fine, and then that defense just you can't do anything. Your defense is playing like that.
I'm going to give you my stock down, and I'm going to get to Jamie's comment right here. My stock down this week, and I know they're going on to a buy. So when we talk about stock up, stock down, I look at it what they've done to this point, going into this week. So this coming week, they're on a buy. The following week, it looks like Austin Eckler should be back. My stock down, and I was guilty of this myself, buying into Josh Kelly. After week 1, getting 16 opportunities. By the way, Austin Eckler also got 16 opportunities. And Josh Kelly got 91 yards and a TD. He has done absolutely nothing. Zero. Nothing. This big, fat nothings from Joshua Kelly in the last 3 weeks when the backfield has been his and his alone.
Yep.
To give you an example, 13, 11, and 17 is his attempts out of the backfield. 0 TDs. And up until last week, it was like 50 yards.
Oof.
He got 65 last week. So what he did in week 2 and 3, he did that in week 4 by itself. Woof.
Yeah.
That hurt some people's feelings, because if you had Austin Eckler and he goes down, we're like, oh, handcuffing, because, well, look at week 1.
Yep.
Josh Kelly's going to get the bulk. He got the bulk and they got nothing.
It just felt like they did a really good job scheming up that run game in week 1. And then where did that go in the subsequent weeks? I will say, I don't think Joshua Kelly's that talented as a running back. And so running back talent, I still think matters. But yeah, odd. It just felt like they really schemed it up really well in week 1 and then kind of just went away.
What's going to really be, and excuse me, Jeff, for saying this live on air, what's really going to be shitty for the Eckler and Joshua Kelly managers, because, I am one where I have Eckler, and of course, week 6, I'm going to start him if he's in there and not start Josh Kelly. And then, of course, in week 6, it's going to be Eckler gets 15 attempts for 105 and a touchdown. Josh Kelly gets 10 attempts for 97 and a touchdown. And I'm just going to be throwing my hands up like, what are we doing?
How do you think Eckler coming back affects Keenan Allen? I have Keenan Allen a lot of places. And then
it didn't affect him in week 1.
He goes from 20 targets in week 3 to 5 last week. Why? Papa?
Because he got a touchdown. Freaking, they don't care about our fantasy teams.
I know.
He still got a touchdown. But you look at week,
Allen.
You talk about the week that Eckler was in there in week 1, Keenan got 6 of 9.
Yeah.
He still got 9 targets.
Yeah.
So don't, I don't think it, and of course now that also you had in there Williams, who had a damn good game as well. That's just we talk about when we're talking about fantasy teams, that is an offense you want a piece of.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Whether it's, if you have a Herbert, you want somebody else as well. If you don't have Herbert, you want as many of them as you can get, because who knows what's going to happen.
And I'm firmly of the belief,
except Quentin Johnston. Nobody wants Quentin Johnston.
I was just going to say, I do. I believe that Quentin Johnston will take over Josh Palmer's role. Josh Palmer's just not good.
In Dynasty, yes, but this year, and I know we're a Dynasty show, but this year, I mean, I don't even know what to expect from Quentin Johnston in 2 weeks against Dallas.
It's bad. I will say, obviously with Mike Williams going down, his snap rate went way up almost doubled. He didn't do anything with it. So, because,
No, it didn't almost double. It absolutely doubled.
It doubled. He didn't do anything with it. So I can't say that I can't really point to stats and say that he's doing a lot better.
Well, that's the problem is at 24% snap rate, he got 3 targets. And at a 51% snap rate, guess how many targets he got?
Yeah, exactly.
3.
Yeah.
The same number.
It's bad. It can't be Josh Palmer. It can be Josh Palmer, and you don't use a first-round pick. I think he's got some talent. I hope. I can't really point to any stat in the NFL that says he is talented yet because he hasn't done anything. But I'm hoping it's more of a wish casting at this point. I just believe it's not Joshua Palmer. It's got to be someone, so I'm going to say it's QJ.
We are definitely going to need to get you some wands behind your head there. That blank wall needs some wands. You can start just witch casting.
Quentin Johnson,
I love it.
JSN, Dalton Kincaid, please.
Yes.
Do
I want to get to this question with Jamie right here. Would you start Herbert tonight or Addison versus the Chiefs?
So another player that I talked about in my article this week was Jordan Addison. He's played literally one snap outside of 11 personnel this season. One. That's it. I was like, I know he only plays in 11 personnel, but I'm sure sometimes he gets in 2 wide receiver sets. No, he doesn't. He gets 1. I'm still going to keep betting on him because I think he's really good. And he goosed you last week. That's tough. But if you look at Kirk Cousins' pass attempts by week, it was like 44, 44, 50, and then last week, 19. That's not going to be the case against the Chiefs. The assumption is going to be a high-scoring game. They're going to have to pass to stay involved. I think Addison's going to be out there a lot. I would start Addison. But it sounds like you might start Herbert given, the receptions that you think he's going to get tonight, and he might have a pretty good game.
I would probably go Herbert. And here's why. When you look at what Addison's done the first 3 weeks, 56, 69, 71, and then last week, 58% snap share. Those are his snap share numbers for the year, for the first 4 games. His targets have not been great either. And I know he's on the opposite of Justin Jefferson. Like you said, he's only playing in basically 11 personnel.
That's it.
But
he's only playing 11 personnel.
He's not getting the targets that even you saw Adam Thielen get last year, right? As the number 2.
Yeah.
Because guess who's standing there? KJ Osborne, for some reason, is still a thing in Minnesota.
He's so bad, too. It's the same situation as the Chargers. I don't get it. KJ Osborne has 0.8 yards per route run this season. That is bad. Just straight up bad. You don't want anything anywhere near 1 or below 1.
But when you look at the grand scheme of things, if you're going to put Addison in the lineup, you are sitting there, as we were talking earlier, crossing your fingers.
Yep.
Get me a touchdown.
But
he's going to get 1 catch, 1 touchdown. That's what you're praying for.
I think if you have Addison, when are you playing him if it's not this week? I like him this week. This is hard to get a better matchup than against the Chiefs with game script. I really think he only goosed you last week because the pass attempts from Cousins went way down. They halved, even more than halved. That's not the case this week.
What other player? I mean, I would actually probably not play him this week and play him next week because they're at the Bears next week. But I would love to hear, Jamie, what are your other options that you would sit Addison for besides Herbert? Because I think Herbert's going to have a big night tonight. Against a defense that, again, like we said at the very beginning, allows 30 plus points a game. And like I said, I still think it's still a 24-20, 24-21 game, but I could see Herbert giving you a nice floor. Jamie, also, go ahead.
Just curious, what's the over-under on that Chiefs-Vikings game, though? It's got to be in the 50s, I would imagine. I haven't seen it, but I would guess 53.5 or something.
I'm going to go look at it right now as you answer this. Rumors are the Bears head coach might be replaced if they lose tonight.
Huh. That's sort
52, of 52 is the answer, by the
52.
way.
Okay. So pretty, high. That's the reason I'm putting Addison in. I think he plays a lot. I think they play from behind. I think they pass a lot. And I think he's just better than Osborne eventually.
Right, so before we talk about the Bears head coach, His other options would be Higgins and Mike Sanders. Higgins is an absolute sit for me.
Yeah.
He's got a broken rib. He's going to be out there, but he's going to be out there more or less as a decoy.
Yeah.
And here's why. If he takes one good hit, I mean, we could be if they put Higgins out there, seriously, and this is just my personal opinion, I'm probably an asshole for saying this out loud, but if they put Higgins out there and they throw him the ball and he does take that hit and gets a punctured lung, he should be suing not only the Bengals, but that's beside the point. Because he knows he's injured, he should automatically put himself on injured reserve. And yes, Jamie, they are both kind of injured right now. So,
and Higgins is also kind of more of that contested deep catch threat, and can Burrow even throw the ball?
He's got more touchdowns than damn Jamar Chase does.
I know, but it's still, I'm concerned for that type of player in this offense right now, especially if he's hurt. I'm not really interested.
Yeah, I'm out on that. Let's get back over here real quick to Jamie's. The Bears head coach might get fired tonight. I'm surprised he's not already fired. That's number one.
Good question. Yeah, or good point there. I guess I just felt like they were putting a lot of this blame on Fields, and maybe that's just me guessing. And so I'm kind of surprised that they're actually going to do this. Yes, they should have done this, but I'm just surprised that they're actually going to do it. If that makes sense.
Can we get Black Friday in October?
Yeah. So who else? What other head coaches would you want to be fired?
What if this game ends in a 3-3 tie?
Oh,
Is Eric Bieniemy become the head coach tomorrow for Washington? And then who in the hell who doesn't get fired in Chicago?
Yeah, I don't know.
Insane.
Yeah. Well,
it's going to be interesting.
Curious what other head coaches around the league you think are doing poorly enough that they deserve maybe to take a look at for Black Friday.
There's a few. There is a few. There's actually one that and we talked about him earlier, was defensive coordinators that move to the head coaching position usually do not pan out right away.
Yeah.
And there are two of them that have done that this year, Houston and Arizona.
Yeah.
They listen, I don't know what it is. The ownership said they were tanking, and all but said they were going to tank. The players and the coach said, I don't give a damn what that guy that signs our check says. And then D'Amico Ryan over there in Houston is just, yes, Will Anderson and CJ Stroud have been absolutely amazing. They are maybe not winning everything that they probably could win, but they are damn sure both of them teams are damn sure in every single game.
And all their players are playing hard too. I will say, as an Eagles fan that watched a lot of Jonathan Gannon, pretty surprised how well he's doing.
You're not the first Eagles fan to say that out loud.
Pretty surprised. Yeah, definitely not. I think most Eagles fans that I know that I've talked to have always been a little confused. Like, why is he a head coaching candidate? Don't really get it. He's got obviously a lot of talent on defense, but it doesn't when he was defensive coordinator for the Eagles. It didn't seem like the defense actually ever played well enough, given the talent that they had. That was, I think, pretty safely can say that was the consensus opinion in Philadelphia for most of the time, and kind of just like happy. You're like perfectly fine if Jonathan Gannon leaves, we'll be fine. So another theme of the show, another guy that has exceeded my expectations.
Yeah, we should have labeled the show. It should not have been Thursday night football fantasy pregame show. It should have been surprises
for the first quarter of the season.
Which we may have to do one of those here in the very near future. Maybe go halfway through and we'll do surprises along with our bets that we've had, the surprising losses that we've taken. Absolutely insane. So let's get into the Chrome Dome parlay of the night. Steve, I'll let you lead this one off. I do have a doozy for you tonight.
Do you? I went simple this time because I don't really have a great feel of which way this game's going to go. If it's going to go over or under. It's like I said, it's two slow offenses against two bad defenses. Which one gives tonight? The only thing, like I mentioned, that I'm confident on is the sacks. So my underdog, keep it simple. I'm taking Fields over 3 sacks. I'm taking Howell over 2.5 sacks. I know this is on the season, so pretty limited sample, but their averages so far, Fields is taking 4 sacks per game. Howell's taking 6 somehow sacks per game. So, both lines are under their season averages. Fields obviously would need to get to 4 to meet his average to win the bet. But yeah, I like those two together.
Yeah. So, I don't know how long they've been doing this because I'll bounce back and forth between underdog, DK.
See, in Texas, we don't have the other options. I pretty much just have underdog. I don't have. I can't play on DraftKings.
Well, I can't play on them, but I can at least look at the
Yeah.
lines, right? And let me get over. Where did it go? There it is. Okay. So on Underdog, they have started doing this little spicy, added bonus, right?
Mhm.
So I took one tonight where it is the boost is 68.9. So spicy to say the least.
Wow.
Yes. And it is, so it's only 4 picks.
And then a lot of the spicy ones, though.
It's all 4 of them are
Yeah.
spicy. All 4 of them are spicy, or at least they say they're spicy.
Sure.
So Jahan Dotson, a half rushing or receiving touchdown.
Okay. So Dotson to score a touchdown.
Yep. DJ Moore,
That one I
a
liked.
half rushing or receiving touchdown.
And it's 1.75. I mean, if they're going to score
Yes.
touchdowns,
It's going to be him, right?
yeah.
Terry McLaurin, a half rushing or receiving touchdown.
Yeah.
Khalil Herbert, a half rushing or receiving touchdown.
So you're hoping for over.
I'm like, give me all the boost.
Yeah.
I mean, give me 17-14. As long as those 4 players are the ones that score the touchdown.
Yep.
Listen to this. $5 brings home $3.50.
I like that bet. I might do that as well, just for the hope that everything goes over.
Yeah.
It'll be fun. Why not? I mean, that's pretty fun.
I mean, it's just those spicy, it's 68.9% boost. We got a little Facebook user right here. Hey, guys, what does the Better Bears running back finally take over?
Is this
Or when
Jamie
does
again?
I bet Roshan has a better game than Herbert tonight. Yeah, I think Jamie needs to get off of his burner account and put his name to this. Now, do you think Roshan has a better game than Herbert tonight?
I don't. I think Herbert has a better game than Roshan. I think the talk that Roshan was taking over this offense based off of last week has been a little bit overhyped so far. I would personally pick Herbert over Roshan. I think you seem like you're in agreement with me.
Yeah, the usage and the usage on Roshan has just gone down and down and down and down. It's just not been great. The only thing he's done this year, in my opinion, at least, well, no, actually by stats, is get the 1 touchdown. Everything else has been Khalil Herbert. He's getting the usage, he's getting the attempts, he's getting the yardage.
I don't think it's a knock on Roshan either. I think Herbert's actually just pretty good.
I don't think it's a knock on Roshan either. It's just, listen, Khalil Herbert was there. This was, Khalil Herbert was also not this regime's pick.
Yeah.
And
but
they allowed absolutely, but they allowed David Montgomery to walk out of the door.
Yeah.
To keep Khalil Herbert, yes, they drafted Roshan. I get it. But the run is going with Khalil Herbert right now. So Kyle Sinra in the chat. Thank you, sir, for jumping in. He says, including both co-hosts and both versions of Jamie in the chat. Kyle, if it wasn't for Jamie, never mind. I'm not even going to bring it up. We would have no Browns talk. We'd have no Bears talk. We'd have no talk at all. All right. So we actually made it almost a full hour, right at 50 minutes. We got in a few of our underdog bets. Anything that you want to bring up for this coming week that we need to be looking out for?
I think the thing, speaking of underdog bets, that I've been working on just on the side here is a model that tries to predict interceptions each week. And I think it's honestly, those have been my best bet so far on underdog. It's kind of like leaning into the interception picks. Just for context, since 2021, so 2021 through week 2 of this year, a QB throws at least one pick 47% of the time. So you would slightly lean towards the under. Pretty much the only lines they put on are half. And so they're pretty good. And they obviously don't give, they don't let you bet on every single quarterback. But the model that I was able to do, I was able to get it, at least in the test set, right 59% of the time, which technically would be profitable if you do like pick 5 each week. And because you would only, to break even, you only need to be, get 5%, and that would be 7% in terms of like the profit boost or whatever. But so that's something I wrote in my article. I'm going to try to talk more about the interception lines moving forward, but that's something that I'm leaning into on the underdog side.
And Kyle's coming in hot. Kyle is coming in hot. Steven's making picks for picks.
Exactly. So it's not, I think it's tough when you're like, I'm going to be right 7% of the time. It's like, okay, big deal. But it is slightly better than the 5% you need to be. And also, that's for every quarterback too. I can,
right.
You don't need to bet on every quarterback each week. You can cherry pick the ones that you like the most this week too.
Yeah, and of course, then you're looking at defenses and that sort of thing as well, right? When you're
the biggest things. Yeah, the biggest things are not too surprising. It's like passing. You just need to have a certain amount of attempts to have interceptions. Pass rate over expected is a big one. Obvious ones, interception rate and turnover worthy play rate. Turnover worthy play rate is actually the most predictive, which makes sense. A little bit more stable than just interceptions. A couple other variables go into it as well, but those are some of the bigger ones. And then, spread, to your point, is also a big one too. It's actually pretty clear that as your team, that your quarterback is expected to win by more points, that's less frequently they're going to throw an interception. So you actually don't want, if it depends on which way you're playing it, but if your quarterback is expected to win by a ton of points, less likely to throw a pick and vice versa. So all of that goes into it too.
Well, Steven, you have definitely, you've graced us on the Gambit with a ton of knowledge. I don't care what Jeff Lambert ever tells you. He's going to have to pay me directly. It's going to be Venmo only. I don't do Cash App. He's going to have to Venmo me payment in order to move you from our show to any other show. That includes guesting on any of the other Going for Two networks. You're allowed to guest on any network that wants you to guest on. But if it's another Going for Two show, I don't care if he wants you on Armchair, Quarter Running Backs, whatever, on Wednesday nights, or if Danny and D want you over there on, whatever they got going on Tuesday nights or whatever. Unless I get Venmo payment from any of those hosts or Jeff Lambert directly, you're not going anywhere. You're not allowed.
That's why Jeff pays me the big bucks, because I'm right 7% of the time on interceptions rather than 5%.
Absolutely. That's
so I
right.
get the big bucks.
But then that's again, Jeff's only right 3% of the time, and he's like, "How the hell did you get the 7?" But no, you have definitely been a blessing, giving us those stats, giving us the charts, the hard work you do behind the scenes. Let the good people know where they can find your hard work and what are you working on for next week.
Yeah, so the article that I write each week for Going for Two, it just came out a few hours ago. And if you get all the way to the bottom, it's a lot of words and a lot of graphs. I write in a little bit more detail about the interception model. So if you're interested in that, it's at the bottom. I outline a couple quarterbacks that I like for overs and unders this week on the interceptions. I'm going to try to do that each week as well. But then, lots of stuff that we talked about on the show, also talked about in the article. But if you like words and graphs, hopefully you do. Going for Two, my article just came out for the week.
Yeah, Kyle says Gator asking for payments while B League can't even get music, apparently. B League doesn't get music because he's, again, like Jeff, is a 3 to 5%er. We have 7%ers over here on this channel.
I have to say, I really like B League show. I like the other. I kind of I thought about reaching out to him and giving him see what he thinks about the interception stuff. But I like to hear his picks.
Yes, his picks at 3:00 on Wednesday get you through the week. The week slate is absolutely awesome. And if you get a chance to actually join the chat of that live, oh my God, he rants about Jeff Lambert so much. It is so funny. So you have comedy, fantasy football, and betting all in one show for like a half
What else
hour,
could you ask
45
for?
minutes. I mean, you can't
Yep.
beat it. You can't beat it.
So good. Yeah.
Everybody go check out goingfor2.com. Down in the bottom right-hand corner, you will see the link to join our Discord. It is absolutely 100% free. Thank you, Jeff Lambert, for doing that. At Jeff Lambert over there on Twitter. I'm sorry, at Jeff Lambert 77 over there on Twitter. Join us over there in the Discord. You can see the multitude of shows that we have going on. Kyle Senra, who is in the chat, along with the B League, along with Doc, along with Gladys, do the Monday night pregame show. We have Tuesdays with I just said it a minute ago. Danny and D, they do their show at 7, I believe it is 7 or 8 o'clock. And then at 9:30, we have the cheat sheet. And then Wednesday nights. Do we have anything going on Wednesday nights now? Yes, we have. Oh, yeah, that's Jeff's show. We don't care about that show. That's the armchair quarterback. We don't care about that one.
I'm sure Jeff would appreciate that.
Yeah. It's Jeff. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Jeff doesn't even care about that show sometimes. And then tonight, every Thursday night, we are here pre-gaming for Thursday Night Football. On Friday, Kyle, what's going on Friday? I know he's in the chat, so tell me what's going on Friday. I know we have Saturday night 5 with our boy Brian Ford. They go, damn, that's have you seen that show yet?
Mm-hmm.
That is actually pretty in depth. The way they build those out, those are pretty good shows as well. So
I'm in a dynasty league with both of them, it's tough.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Brian is an asshole for trading. Who's Jeff? Yes, Jamie, that's what I'm talking about. Who is Jeff anyway? Like, no, I mean, have you ever seen Jeff and Kyle in the same room? I've never seen them on camera together at all. So I'm DFS is Friday night. That's right.
Yep.
DFS and the IDP show come out Friday with our boy Jerry. So I do appreciate you guys putting that in the chat. Prospect Prep is on Friday as well. I believe that's Jerry's show, if I'm not mistaken. So, Steven, anything else you got for the last words here?
No, I'm hoping. I guess my heart is hoping for a high scoring game. My brain is saying it's going to be a slow sack fest. So I'm excited to see which one it is.
Yeah, and Kyle says he's not even sure Jeff and himself have been in the same country, let alone the same room. Yeah, I think that proves my point. All right, Steve. For Steven at Target Shares over there on Twitter. For myself at FantasyJ77 on Twitter. Again, like I have said this multiple times, I will not call it X until Des Bryant joins us and he can call it X, and then I will then call it X. It has been your Thursday night Dynasty Gambit. Bears, Commanders coming up in about 20 minutes. Last prediction on the Bears win tonight. Who wins? Bears or Commanders? Commanders. Score.
Yeah. Who do you think? I kind of liked your 24-20. Can I just steal that? I think I'll steal it. I'll say 24-20.
We're both on the Commanders 24-20.
Slightly under Commanders win. That's I think I can settle on that.
Don't forget, it is Thursday night. Get your players that are playing tonight on the Bears and Commanders out of your flex. You got about 15, 20 minutes to do that. Get them out of your flex. Put them into their normal position. That way you have a little bit of room for Sunday and Monday. For Steven, for myself.
Taylor and Cooper Kupp in there.
Oh, yes. See, you won't know that until Saturday night, early Sunday morning. Yeah. So for Steven, for me, we are out.
Yeah.